Good evening, and today I want to just talk to you about some essentials for moving abroad. You all know that I am not an expert in that, but I am sharing from the lived experience that I am going through and many other YouTubers that I have been researching as I am planning my move abroad. So, what I have to do first is shout out those folks that have helped me to pull this video together. And so I have to shout out Black Sit Global, Our Black Utopia, Exodus Summit, and those are like generalized folks. And then specifically who I've been looking at, focusing in on Thailand, Mr. Eager Expat. He is so awesome. He literally just walks neighborhoods and he just gives a day-to-day account of a particular street or a particular area. And in between that, he will give you some essential about how to exchange your money or how to use the banking or what medical facility he uses. So I really appreciate that. I also need to give out this new couple, Dean and Kanisha, and Antoinette Yvonne. They are all Thailand bloggers. They are all people of color, and they share their daily lives with their audience. And so I am just really thankful that by watching them, doing my research, and preparing, I have some essentials that I want to share for today. So before I get into this conversation, let me introduce you to the channel. I'm Dr. Davia. Welcome to Not All the Things. This is a space for success-driven, mature women of color. This is a place where I come and I talk about work-life balance, doing a little bit better this week. I talk about wellness and I talk about wine. And I'm having a rosé, and this bottle has been opened. It's a Moscato. It's a little flat, but it's okay. I love the color and I love the price point. So I figured I'd share that with you all. And I think today's conversation is a wellness conversation. If you saw last week's video where I was asking myself to give myself grace, I was not moving. I was not getting my tail in action. And I would say this week, I am in way better spirits and I am moving. And when I need to take a break, I just take a break. So if you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. You found the channel. Please feel free to hit the like button, maybe even think about subscribing. That will tell the algorithm to share this content with other folks like yourself. And if you are returning, thank you for riding with me. I would say the next couple of weeks are going to be more focused on this move to Thailand. And so I hope you stick around for that. And just share this. Even if you are not moving, if there are just some gems I hope that you're able to gain from what this process means when you're starting to think about even a sabbatical, even a leave of absence, anything like that. So I do hope that you stick around. So today's video is about 6 essential areas that you must plan for, from your visa to your wellness plan. And if I am missing anything in any steps, please let me know in the comments, and please let me know what you think I should have added or what I haven't thought about, or if there's something that I share that you haven't thought about, you can let me know that. So please. In true educative forum, I put together a PowerPoint, so you all have to bear with me. I will not be long with the PowerPoint, but I do think having the PowerPoint could be helpful if you plan on researching and coming back. You should see this as a way to utilize this information for your own self, or to share it with someone else who might be interested in this information. So we're gonna get started, but I need you to bear with me while I set up the PowerPoint. We are going to talk about the essentials to know before moving abroad. And I will just say that these are the essentials that I have been using. I also want to say that my situation is different from most expats. I am not a retiree. I am actually moving and I will be working. So I will be busy. And so my company has helped me to think through some of these pieces as a part of my onboarding. But these are still 6 essential areas that I think most people, regardless of if you're working or not, will still need to keep in mind. So I just wanted to put that out there right at the top because my move might be a little bit different, but these things that I have to do are things that anybody would have to do when moving to a new country. These are not in any particular order, but I do think they feel like what I had to think about first and foremost, although some of them are happening at the same time. So we're going to talk about visa types and entry. We're going to talk about the health insurance, but really I'm going to wind up putting that on the side, but we'll talk a little bit about it. Then we're going to talk about looking for housing, condos, and the ways in which you work with a property agent. We're going to think about banking and money. That is a hot topic. A part of the health insurance, obviously, is about once you're in country, but on your way to country, you need to be thinking about some things prior to your visit, like your doctor visits and your vaccines. And then finally, I have been thinking about a mental health and wellness plan for myself and my family. And next week, if you are, I think it's, if not next week, actually, I think it's next week, I will be talking to a sister, Tori, shout out to Tori, and we will be talking live about this mental health and wellness for expats in other countries. So I'm going to just hit it a little bit here, but we are going to have a much more in-depth conversation in the future. So clearly, once I accepted the job, I realized that I'm going to have to be thinking about the visa, and the kind of visa that I am going on is probably different than most expats when they are moving. But I do think the question that one needs to ask themselves, no matter what, is what are you going to this country for? Right? What will you be doing and what are you going to this country for? And once that is the question, then it will lead you to start to do some research around the visas that you could be going for. Are you just going as a tourist and you're going to do a 3-month tourist stay up to 180 days? There are some countries that will allow you to stay up to 180 days. Are you going to be a digital nomad in that country? If that is the case, then you may be looking for a different visa. You might still be doing your digital nomad work or your remote work on your tourist visa, but if you wanted to stay longer than your tourist visa, you should check and see if the country has that option. You could be the lucky one going on a retirement visa. That's not me yet, but girl, I'm gonna get there. And see me in a few years when I update this and I will be going on a retirement visa. But for now, that is not my choice. Not at the moment. But if you're going on a retirement visa, there are different kinds of visas, and in different places, they have different requirements. You could be studying. In Thailand, you could be doing an education visa, therefore, you are studying. And even if you're doing a language visa, where you are studying the language, you could be on that education visa, aka that student visa. Or like myself, you are relocating for work and therefore your visa is going to look a little bit different and your company is going to help initiate. You still have to collect all of the information that is needed. So the one thing I want you to know is that if you are looking for an extended visa, then you have to check the official embassy websites to get a sense of what's needed. Do not just go by the research that you do on YouTube because things change every day. Things change like really every day. So I would say to you, spend some time doing the research. And also, yeah, you can look at some YouTubes and you can look in Facebook, but the most important thing is for you to check. Each country has a different process, so you must do your homework. It is not the same in every place. And some visas offer you multiple entries, and you want to make sure that that's the case. In Thailand, when you're filling out your visa, especially your relocation visa, and any one of them, there's an opportunity for you to check that you want to have multiple re-entries so that you can have a longer stay. Because sometimes once you get your visa, and if you leave the country, you got to start that process all over. If you leave the country prior to the time, the 2 or 3 months that they allow. So you have to be very careful. Okay. So our first one is to really be thinking about that visa. The second essential element that I think we need to be focusing in on is health insurance. And it's easier said than done. I know that most of the time when people travel, they don't always get health insurance, but I have to say that this is one that you do not want to skip. There are international plans, there are local plans, and you really want to think about what's covered. Are you a person that has any preconditions? Is there something that you need to be aware of and thinking about? But if you, like myself, just do my normal checkups yearly, would like to get dental, would like to get vision, know that that's something that you always pay for, even out of country. Most of the times it's not all inclusive. But again, every place is different. So you got to do some research. I'm probably going to be using a broker. I was going to go with Safety Wing. Safety Wing is a digital nomad insurance, but it does have a premium version. And so I was thinking about that. But then when I asked my company what they thought about it, they said, oh, it might be easier to just work with a broker. And all that broker does, just to be clear, is to review what you say you need and then looks at a number of different plans. So it looks at Cigna, it looks at Global. There's, at least in Thailand, there's Allianz. There's like 3 or 4 others. And so they will help you to make a decision based on what your needs are. And when it's time for you to use the doctor and then potentially either pay something or at least get some reimbursement, they will support you in that process. So I think that's an interesting thing. I know in Portugal, folks use a concierge service that helps them. And I would say you have to, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, do your research, but see whether or not picking a digital nomad insurance could be helpful. If you're staying, I would say, I don't know, even 30 days, 60 days. If you're even scouting, sometimes people get insurance because it covers more than just general health. It covers sometimes, especially with the travel ones, if you are delayed, if you are missing a hotel, if you need a flight, if you need transportation to the doctor. So really want to understand what's covered. If there's emergency care built in, if there are prescriptions built in. Most of the time you pay for your prescriptions, but in a lot of these countries, the prescriptions are much cheaper. So it's not such a big expense out of pocket. And if you're going to use the private or public system, make sure you are understanding how the system works in the country that you are moving to. And sometimes it's not easy. So again, being in community, asking folks in Facebook groups, and be very, very targeted with your questions so that you could potentially get that kind of answer. You could always use chat. Chat if you have a very specific question about a particular place, if you put that into Chat GPT, it will give you a response that you can then do some additional research. So don't skip this part. Make sure you think about this health insurance. All right. Housing. This is the fun part and also the stressful part. I have been living in my home for over 20 years, so I have not looked for an apartment or anything in that long time. So you have to be really smart about how you are finding your housing. I have been watching video after video, and I will say for Thailand, there are all these like condo videos, and you can get really caught up in all of the things that you see, but you have to think about what your needs are and what you really want. And so finding a reputable agent or using a relocation service, I would absolutely guarantee that that's the best way to go. And also, I would say to please think about renting for sure. If I know some people want to invest because that's a good way to uh, invest your money and also invest in the community that you're going to be in. But I would say you might want to wait on that. Um, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but renting before you buy, exploring neighborhoods is really important. And I will say that's why Eager Expat in Thailand has been so useful to me, because all he does is walk up and down neighborhoods, and he is on a main line, the Sukhumvit line, which is where most of the expats live. Doesn't mean you're wherever you're going to live right where the expats are, but clearly there are going to be more people who you can turn to for support, and who are familiar with that. And then they will have the conveniences that you might be craving. I'll say it that way. So exploring the neighborhoods, if you can do a scouting trip, I'm sure in other videos, if you are doing your research, many times people scout out, they visit the place that they want to live, they walk the neighborhoods, they stay as a person who is living there, not as a tourist, not in the fancy hotel where, you're living a whole different life. You're on vacation when you're doing that, right? You have a different way that you're moving when you're on vacation versus where am I going to go do my laundry if I don't have a laundry service in my building, or where's the nearest grocery store, where's the cleaners, where's the local cafe, the local coffee shop, is there a Starbucks, do I even want a Starbucks? So all of those things you need to really think about, and working with folks who our agents or relocation service providers will help you. Asking the community for suggestions. Who do you know who lives in a particular area or who knows something about the area that you could DM, that you could um, put out a post in the Facebook group? Again, my situation is different because I'm able to ask my future colleagues and coworkers about communities. So I've identified, I have a little list of places that I was really interested in. I also had an opportunity to do some onboarding, so I was able to walk some neighborhoods. I knew I wanted to be centralized, but not right on the main space. So I am looking at an apartment that's a little bit off of the main road. We'll see if that's going to work for me. I'm also looking for an older building. I love all of those fancy, like Bangkok condo videos, but I actually need some space. I'm coming from, more than 3 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. I'd like to have that. That's really hard to find in Thailand without it being like tiny. So the older buildings seem to have larger spaces. And so I'm okay with that, right? I'm not going to be out in them streets on a regular. So I need something that's quiet. I need to be able to be comfortable. I need to be able to exercise a little bit. And so explore. And the other thing I would say is, at least in Thailand, many of the apartments come furnished. And so looking for a short-term furnished rental can absolutely ease your transition. I have to do some traveling as soon as I get there and get settled to visit some of my schools. So I don't have a lot of luxury to just be walking around and looking at properties. So I have been working with an agent who has been showing me properties by video and giving me some insight about the neighborhoods. And then I follow up with Google Maps as an additional support. All right. So that is number 3. Let's see. What do we have next? Banking and money. I will just say that this is a little bit of a stressor. At least it has been for me. Maybe it'll get better, but at the moment, I am really trying to understand how things are moving. Unfortunately, the dollar is not doing so well. It is not as strong as it has been. As the banker said to me at Bank of America, don't nobody want these American dollars right now. They are not interested in these dollars because the tariffs and the taxes are also putting pressure globally. So thinking about opening up an account that works for you internationally is definitely the best way to go. I put a few icons down here. I put Fidelity and Charles Schwab. I know that they have ATM. They pay you back for the usage of your fees if you have some transaction fees, and those are places in which you can avoid some transaction fees. So you definitely want to think about getting an account either with any one of them. Also trying to understand the local currency, really making good sense of like how much your dollar will stretch and what that dollar is like. A lot of people are using Wise as their way to move their money from their local bank. And I mean local in your new country, not your home bank, but move your funds and transfer it back into your home account. And so you really do need to be thinking about how to set up your auto pay and your online banking. Make sure, and this is really one that I need to get in my head, make sure you have all of your account information and you have copies of your logins and your passwords, and realize that when you start to make these international transactions, I had to do a wire and Bank of America was like, no, ma'am, you don't normally wire funds to Thailand. This must be fraud. And I had to physically go into the bank to correct that and verify that indeed it was me trying to send funds out of my own account. I mean, I am thankful that they put that flag, but I'm also like, what's going to happen when I'm out of country and that happens again and I have to move money into the account? I'm hoping that the notations will hold up and I don't have to go into a bank because there's not going to be a Bank of America to go into. So I will cross that bridge, but I would say to you all, you have to be thinking more globally and you have to be thinking about when's the best time to move money. And from a lot of the research that I'm doing, it seems like you need to move large sums. I guess you will need to define for yourself what that looks like because you don't want all these little $15, $25, $30 wire fees. So you need to be moving $2, $3, $5, $10, $20,000 if that is how you want to manage your funds. And if not, then you might need to be bringing your currency with you and then exchanging it over time as the dollar is fluctuating, looking for the best time to transition and make those transactions. So the banking right now is the one that is giving me a little bit of a fit, but That's because I have a little bit of a money story. You can go back and watch my episode with Kara Stevens. I'm working through it. All right. Let's see. What do we have next? The doctor visits that you need to make before you go, and any vaccination shots that you want to get or you need to get. Again, this is a before you go, and it sounds so simple, but you can run out of time. Scheduling your checkups and your annual physicals, definitely trying to get copies of your medical and dental records so that you can have that with you. I'm sure they'll still want to do their own checks, and at least you have something to start with, right? And then if you have any prescriptions, I'm actually going to refill some prescriptions that I haven't really been taking. I have my high blood pressure medicine. I'm unhappy that I have to take it, and I'm hoping that with a change of diet and a change of stress level because of pressures, that maybe I won't need that, right? So I'm going to refill it just to have it, but I'm hoping not to take it. And I have been doing some basic research on vaccinations that I need, just the ones that I would probably need in this country, being the US. If I take them now, that might be helpful because I don't know what I'm going to come across while I'm in Thailand. I'm not assuming I'm going any place risky or doing anything risky, but I think it's important to at least find out if there are vaccinations that are needed, so that you could at least feel like, yes, I am somewhat protected. I'm also going to be wearing my mask because COVID is not gone. COVID is alive and well. Don't let them lie to you and tell you otherwise. So I will be bringing mask with me, and I will be using my mask on public transportation. So preventative care is definitely something that we need to be thinking about. And finally, the one that has just been coming up for me is the idea of my own mental health and wellness. And so this idea of relocating absolutely equals some kind of emotional transition. And so I am really thinking about setting up some sort of telehealth or access to some kind of therapy, or just being a part of a coaching team or coaching group that has recently relocated. And so I'm looking into that because I don't know how I'm going to feel just yet. I know the experience is going to be wonderful, but there will be some anxiety or some anxiousness or just some grief and loss that I am struggling with. So I want to make sure that, one, I'm doing what I can, and also thinking about my family and making sure they are set up for that. Potentially going to look for some expat wellness communities to be a part of, and hoping that even if it's just a yoga community, I'm not really a Pilates girly, but a lot of people love that. I might do some meditation and yoga and mindfulness, breath work. I'm not sure, but just something that is focusing on wellness and giving me an opportunity to protect my peace. All right. So these are the ones that I have thought about. I think the thing that is really important for me and for anyone who is about to make a big move is that you have to stay connected to home, but you also have to be open to change and also be flexible and go right back to being able to give yourself grace. Everything is happening all at once. And so you have to ground yourself and center yourself and just do the best that you can on this journey. I hope that these were helpful to you. I am honestly processing these myself. And these are big steps. So we have to take it with clarity and also take it with care, right? Absolutely. So thank you again for being here with me. Thank you for listening. I am working these things out. Again, I am not an expert, but I am doing my research and I am sharing what I am finding with you. I have also made sure to be doing some research and digging in and using that knowledge. And I'm also using my lived experience as I'm going through this process. So, again, I hope those 6 essential areas make sense. And if you have additional areas, please let me know. Please put it in the comment. Thanks again. If you want to buy me a coffee or a tea or a glass of wine, please hit that QR code. And also, I would love for you to subscribe and comment and like, because it all matters for the algorithm. And hopefully, I will see you all next week. I am going to have a wonderful conversation with Sister Tori, like I said, and we're going to be digging in a little bit more to this mental health and wellness aspect of an expat move. So thank you. And I'm going to say cheers. I'm actually not happy with this. You see it's still here. So I'm going to let this go, but cheers anyway. And please, let's not do all the things and let's take care. Bye.